Welcome to the Beacon Encourage, powered by Beacon Life Church. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. This is Beacon Encourage, your weekly dose of courage.
All right, a very, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are glad to be coming your way yet again. I'm yours truly, Dr. M. The Desire. We are still here in Addis, and we are so glad the opportunity we had to meet this wonderful, wonderful team of people from around the world at the DNA conference. This is the Beacon Encourage. We are powered by the Beacon Life Church. And as you know, every week we bring you someone to tell their story and their journey with the Lord and the marvelous things God is doing in their lives. I know that you're going to be encouraged. This morning we are hosting Mr. Sean Castle. Did I get it right?
You did.
Wonderful.
Good job.
What a great pleasure to have you on the Beacon Encourage.
Thank you.
You are so very welcome.
My pleasure to be here.
And thank you for all the great work you're doing at the DNA fraternity.
You're
Wonderful. All right, because there's a lot of people here getting to meet you for the first time.
Okay.
Take a moment and talk to us about who Sean Castle is.
Yeah. So I grew up in America, the
Yes.
middle of the country.
Okay.
In a small town from a village, less than 500 people.
Wow. What state is this?
In Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I grew up going to a small public school.
Okay.
22 people in my class.
Okay.
That's it.
Mhm.
And my family was, we grew up going to a Lutheran church.
Mhm.
And it was great. We had some really great Sunday school lessons, and the youth group was really good.
Yes, sir.
So I learned a lot.
Mhm.
God implanted a lot into my life about His Word
Yes.
and His truth,
Mhm.
but I didn't know Him. I went to
Mhm.
church all the time. I remember even sitting in church one time when I was about 8 or 9 years old and thinking, I want to be a pastor someday because I want to know God. You know, that was my desire. And when I was in junior high,
Mhm.
went through catechism.
Yes.
The pastor didn't like youth too much, but he was our teacher. I ended up leading that church
Yes.
through that experience
Mhm.
and joined a different church, Methodist church.
Yes.
And was a Methodist church through high school and college.
Mhm.
And when I was a senior in college, I was trying to decide what I was going to do after college.
Yes, sir.
And my pastor at the time said, hey, we know a young man who's doing mission work.
Mhm.
We think you'd love it.
Mhm.
Why don't you check it out?
Mhm.
So I'd never thought about it before.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I'll look into it. And I ended up joining an organization that was taking young people overseas.
Okay.
And so I went to their leadership camp
Mhm.
to be a leader for the summer trip.
Yes.
And at that time I realized I didn't know Jesus like
Mhm.
everybody else in the group seemed to know Jesus.
Yes.
And through that experience, God really changed my life.
Wow.
And I came home from that, told my brother, I think I got born again this weekend.
Mhm.
I
Bless
just-
the Lord.
Yeah. And
It's
so-
amazing how so many people out there are involved in church work and doing things, but they really don't know the Lord because it is a real personal, intimate experience.
It is,
Mm.
yeah. Yeah, and I experienced that through being around people
Mm.
who really did have a relationship.
Yes.
And I thought, they have something that I'm missing.
Mm.
What is it?
Mhm.
And through that experience, I understood
Mhm.
it's really
Bless-
knowing God, you know?
Bless the Lord.
Yeah.
Bless the Lord. Okay, beautiful. So, fast forward, how do you come from that history to become the man that you become today? Very, worldview, business, biblical worldview, and working with the team that you're working right now. How did that connect happen?
Yeah, great question. So through that experience, I ended up, I went to Eastern Europe in 1991.
Oh, wow.
And so
What
the
country is
Berlin
this?
Wall had just come down, and so we're going to Hungary.
Hungary,
And
okay.
people there were saying, you know, where have you been for the last 60 years? We want to know God ourselves.
Wow.
And then after that summer, I ended up going through a discipleship program.
Yes.
And through that, just got grounded in my faith. And I read probably 80 books in one
Wow.
year while
Wow.
going to school.
Mhm.
And we had a program after that we went out on the streets. We went into nursing homes. We did a lot of prison ministry. We did
Wow.
just about everything.
Mhm.
And it was a really intense one-year program. And then I met my wife, who we became, we got married about 5 years later.
Oh, wow.
And we joined a Youth with a Mission. And we had heard about community development. We didn't want to just go and be, evangelists, but we were very discipled in evangelism and church planting. Evangelism and church planting. And I used to think to myself, is this all there is? Isn't there more? Is this it? Because what happens after you lead someone to the Lord? Is it their work now is just to lead someone else to the Lord? And I remember driving, and we live in Arizona, and it's a big city, and one street, there's about 5 or 6 churches in one street, within a mile of each other. And I thought, gosh, there's so many churches.
Quite a rich community.
Yeah, but I look at society and it's falling apart. And I used to think, why is there's so many churches, but society's failing? And isn't there a connection? So God led us to YWAM, and we did this community development course. And the first week of that class, a guy came and spoke on biblical worldview. And through that experience, my life, I was born again, and I came to understand that God does care about all of life. He isn't just interested in just our salvation, but in every area of our lives. I remember leaving the classroom one day and going out into the trees and just weeping. Like, God, I knew you were bigger than I had known you, and thank you for revealing yourself to me. It just changed my life. So
it's not just the gospel of salvation.
Exactly.
It begins with salvation, but it must end in the kingdom.
Exactly.
And that's Abba's cry, that every area is affected.
Exactly.
By the same healing of the soul.
Yeah.
Become the healing of the body, become the healing of the family, become the healing of the community.
Yeah.
And society.
Yeah. I used to think, how does a businessman, how's a Christian businessman any different than a non-Christian? Is it just because he believes in Jesus? Shouldn't there be a difference, And so this really opened my eyes to a whole new way of approaching God's Word, looking at life. The good news that we had to share with people was more than just, you're going to die someday and you'll go to heaven. It was more than that. It was good news for today and for eternity.
And life altering.
And life altering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. I like, when I talk about it, I tell the people, if indeed it was about know the Lord and be ready for heaven, then the day we knew the Lord is the day we should have died.
Exactly. Yes.
But we receive salvation and receive redemption, and He keeps us here because His will has to be done here through us as vessels, which is the kingdom come.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, beautiful. I know that your role right now at DNA mobilizes a lot of like-minded persons and spirits from around the world who have understood these things and teaching them and appropriating them in different realms.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what that means to you as a person, but also the impact of this mission and vision around the world.
Sure. So I have the opportunity to facilitate Coram Deo classes, which is our online biblical worldview classes.
Amazing. Amazing.
And then we have 4 or 5 different, we call them network development coordinators.
Yes.
So we have different language groups represented. We have Portuguese, Spanish, French, Arabic, German, and English. And I'm the representative for English.
Well done.
So we connect with each other and share ideas of what we're doing and how we're doing that.
Is your English that fine?
What's that?
Your English that fine?
It is. Thankfully, I have to know others I have to depend on.
Yes.
So, but it's exciting to hear, because each of the people who are fulfilling their role like I am have also been impacted. And there's this, kind of this contagious spirit of wanting to see the kingdom of God come into their language spheres. And that can cover many countries, But there's we call it a movement. We're trying to see a movement of God happen, where it's not just a person here or a person there, but it's a group of people who are like-minded, who have been impacted by God, His Word, His truth, and have a vision of a kingdom to see His kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven.
Amazing.
And so it's fun to see how God is using that. In every country, God's using him in a different way.
Yes, sir.
You know? So it's not just a cookie cutter thing.
Yes, yes.
It's like, I may focus on this, and she focuses on that, and
Yes.
he, so, and together it's kind of like a palette of an artist,
Yes.
you know? And we're all have a different color, we're adding to the picture.
Yes, sir.
So,
Which is really the different cultures and the different ethnicities or ethnos.
exactly.
And each one of them comes up in its color
Exactly.
into the same painting, like you're saying.
Yeah.
I call it unity in diversity.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's perfect.
Bless the Lord, bless the Lord, bless the Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, you're talking to Sean Carson here from the DNA office in Phoenix, Arizona. And what a great joy to have you at the Beacon in Courage yet again.
Yeah, thanks.
Let me ask you to talk to us about mentorship, because the question of being able to move this legacy to the next generation and being able to move this learning and the whole mindset of the kingdom. I know that Christianity is what it is today in many ways because of what has been carried on from generation to generation.
Exactly.
Talk to us about what your feelings are and what you see and you know, all of that in terms of some of the strategic things we can do in being able to mentor the next generation.
Sure. Well, one thing, personally, I went through a discipleship class like I told you, and it was a really intense time, and the leader of that really invested in me and the whole group. And I realized what a unique situation that was when I met other people who had never had that.
Yes.
I think I think mentorship or discipleship is such a lacking element in the church today. I think there's hunger for that, and even myself, after that program, I was a young guy, but I wanted to grow more, and I was looking for older people who I would watch and get to know and see what their character was like, what their passion was, and oftentimes I would ask them, hey, would you want to spend time with me and mentor me and knowing God and living that out? I can't tell you how many times I was turned down. I'm too busy. I really don't, that's too uncomfortable for me. And excuse after excuse.
Yes, sir.
So I learned something very valuable there. I was discouraged. And I know probably some of you are discouraged because you're looking for someone who will mentor you and you can't find them.
Yes.
However, God told me many times, Sean, I'm your counselor. Sean, I'm your mentor.
Yes.
And so I really depended on him for that. And instead of being frustrated or angry that people wouldn't invest to me, I took advantage of the fact that God wanted to.
Yes.
And so it caused me to seek him more. And then I would watch people, and then I would take mental notes of what I see that I think is good, it's reflecting God, his nature, his character. And I'd say, God, I want to build that into me. And then I would see people, I'd say, yeah, I don't want that. You know, protect me from that. I don't want, you know. And I think through those experiences, it wasn't kind of a formal mentoring program in my life, but God used people in so many different ways.
Community.
Yeah, but I think it was the positive and the negative that I really had to depend on him to teach me through someone rather than them teaching me.
Yes.
You know? So it was a different
and that's
way.
the making, the process of making. I
It
remember
is.
Jesus picking up his disciples, he would say, follow me and I will make you.
Yeah,
And sometimes you want to follow but not ready to be made. And I
Exactly.
think that's what I'm hearing you explain, where the person you're learning from may not even know that you are learning or that they're teaching.
exactly.
But you observe and then that affects and impacts your life.
It is.
On the question of mentorship, may I ask, I know that you know Darren Miller in a personal way, and a lot of us have encountered him in many ways. But there are many out there that have been impacted by him, by whether his videos or his books, the amazing materials he's put out there. Talk to us a little bit about Darren the man, and you know what that means to many people.
Yeah. So God brought me to the DNA through many circumstances.
Yes.
But, and in that first community development class, Daryl, he spoke in our class.
Yes.
But I was sick that week. I missed the whole week.
Oh, wow.
I never met him.
Oh, wow.
And, but, you know, was it 5 years later, I found myself working with Daryl.
Oh, wow.
And I'd read Discipling Nations, and it had a profound effect on me.
Yes.
And so as I've gotten to know and spend time with Daryl, I've worked closely with him over the years, and I have found like now he's somebody I want to follow. He's somebody that I see. He doesn't just talk about things, which he can talk a lot.
Yes.
He has a lot of knowledge, but he's living it out.
Yes.
And we've been in tight situations. It's not always been smooth.
Yes.
We've worked together, and sometimes that's been bumpy.
Yes.
But I've seen in him an authentic person.
Yes.
When conflict happens, let's talk about this. Let's talk it through. And I've seen them. We've had vision conferences where everybody's leaving. Daryl's picking up trash. Daryl's picking up people's stuff. He's helping them get out the door. And I'm like, now that's the kind of guy. I want to be like that. You know? So I was mentored by him, like intentionally and unintentionally.
Amazing.
But just by watching it and following his example.
Amazing.
I would say he's one of the most authentic guys I've ever met, really. And I know him on multiple levels, and I can say that with confidence. I can't say that about a lot of people.
That's true.
But I can say that about him.
Bless the Lord.
And I'm really grateful, really grateful, because, you know, in the church we oftentimes find that there's hypocrisy.
Yes.
People talk a good talk,
Yes.
and they don't walk a good walk. And so
It's the water and wine situation.
exactly. And so when you find somebody that's
Yes.
cohesive, it's really attractive.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Amazing. And I agree with you because we had a grand opportunity to host him in Nairobi a few years ago.
Okay.
Just with a gathering, teaching young people and pouring into us.
Yeah.
And everything you're talking about here is true. That
Yeah.
we can, I'm glad that you got an opportunity to experience such a giant
Yeah.
at that level.
Yeah. He has such a heart for God, for his word, and God's people. He wants to see people flourish, you know. He's devoted his whole life to that. He said, I don't believe in retirement, you know, and I'm going to work. If I fall over dead on an airplane going to Nairobi, then I fall over dead, but I'm going to go. As much as I can, as much as the Lord will allow me to, I will do it. So,
Indeed. I think one of my lovely questions on this set is usually the testimony questions, to just hear what the Lord is doing and touching and amazing things that He's done in people's lives. In your own story, what is that one or two things that God has done at some point in your life that always becomes a point of reflection? In any situation you're in is a reminder that the Lord's with you because of what He's done for you in the past.
no, that is such a good question. You know, I think there's a couple of things that I can say. God has given me a heart of compassion.
Yes.
And when I look at myself, I know that's not in me, but it's something that He's given to me. And I have been able to travel to many, many different countries.
Yes.
And in those experiences, being able to almost feel like you've touched the heart of God in certain places with certain people. And even here in Ethiopia, it's been awesome because just being able to connect with people that we've seen on the streets here,
Yes.
but even more so those who are at this conference.
Yes.
Everyone has a story.
That's true.
And I am so encouraged that, you know, God knows my story. The bumps, the bruises, the failures, the successes, and He still loves me, you know?
Bless the Lord.
And when I encounter someone, I think, okay, this is Jesus. You know, Matthew 25 talks
Yes.
about, as you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. That's one of those verses to me that has really profoundly impacted my life, is trying to understand and see people
Yes.
as Christ. Like Christ is before me. How do I love Him? How do I serve Him? How do I talk to Him? And obviously I'm not perfect at that, but I want to be more and more. I want to grow in that. And I think that's one of the things that God's really invested into my heart, is that idea. And I'm really grateful for that, you know.
Bless the Lord.
I'm happy to be behind the scenes. I'm happy to, because I trust that God is, He sees everything, you know, and to be able to serve, He says, is the greatest option, you know?
Great.
It's one of the greatest, so
Amazing.
I want to do that.
Amazing, amazing. The heart to serve is the heart of the kingdom. I'm going to ask you to take some time to encourage our people and then go ahead and pray for them. But before you do that, in light of family and your experience with your wife over the years that you've been married, there are many things that you can say about family, but talk to us on just a few highlights, especially young people that are planning to get married or they are recently married. Sometimes they get married and discover it doesn't look like everything they thought it was.
Sure.
And the challenges that go with marriage in just a few quick shots.
Sure.
Go in that direction.
Yeah. I made a commitment to the Lord when I first got saved that I wasn't going to get married.
Yes.
I wasn't going to pursue marriage unless He told me to do
You
it.
love the Lord with all your heart.
Yeah, I don't want to be unencumbered, you know.
Yes.
And I was good friends with my wife,
Yes.
and we had a good relationship, just a friendship,
Yes.
you know. And we encouraged each other, we challenged each other to love Jesus, and I loved her, you know. And I thought if God gives me permission, this is the woman I want to marry.
Yes.
I've seen her in so many situations. And one day God said to me, well, Sean, if you are going to marry Amy, my desire for you is
Yes.
that you serve her. Your job is to make her successful.
Wow.
And so it's funny because our children, we have 2 boys, and they say, you guys always are fighting to see who can serve each other, outserve each other.
That's a great fight.
And yeah, and so we get along so well, but and I think part of that is just because we want Jesus to be the center, and if we're serving each other out of our love for Him, our love for each other has grown and deepened.
Bless the
We
Lord.
took in some foster children from other countries,
Okay.
and we've had 6 different foster children from
Amazing.
different countries
Well done.
living in our family.
Wow.
And I think our relationship with each other has allowed us to do that, because it's been very difficult. You know, we raised some Muslim children,
Yes.
and we just different worldviews coming together. And how do we love them? How do we serve them? How do we love and serve each other in the midst of all the different challenges that we're all facing?
Yes.
And he was faithful. He's been so faithful
Wow.
to us in that. So I would just encourage you, here's what my wife would say: don't become emotionally attached to someone. We talk about, don't touch until you get married, right? Don't be physically active.
Yes.
She would say, don't be emotionally connected, because emotionally connection leads to physical connection
Yes.
until you're ready to. And she said her journey with me, because we were friends for 5 years before we got married, is God kept telling her, you can have a friendship, but don't get emotionally attached. And I think that has deepened our relationship with each other, that we've respected each other in that,
Bless
and
the Lord.
allowed each other to seek God and wanting the best for each other. If that meant together, great. If that meant separate, great. But we just really wanted God's best for each other.
God's best for each other. What a way to highlight that. I think, and I guess that's serving one another.
Yeah.
Which is the greatest demonstration of love. That the way up is actually down.
It is
if we
now.
get to serve, then we see the elevation of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Beautiful listening to you, Sean.
Oh,
That's amazing. On this side of that camera are people, young men and young women that are discouraged for whatever reason. They may be going through struggling with school, academia, relationships and work issues and all of that, families that are struggling. I want you to take some time. This is the Beacon Encourage. And
Okay.
just shoot an encouragement.
Sure.
To just bring back life to a distorted soul.
Yeah. Yeah, life is challenging. And I take great encouragement from the fact that we serve a king whose kingdom will never, ever, ever end. You know, the Nicene Creed talks about his kingdom never ending.
Yes.
And in the midst of discouragement, in the midst of challenges, we have to have a vision. We have to have a vision of the kingdom that is never going to end.
Yes.
And a king that is he comes to serve us. He comes to love us. He comes to support us, encourage us. And then when he does that and we fall in love with him, then we want to become more a part of that kingdom.
Yes.
So it's this cycle of and I've gone through lots of discouragement. I've gone through lots of difficult times.
Yes.
And I've been struggling with a health issue for over 10 years. And I've seen God so faithful. And I think my greatest encouragement is in the midst of your struggles, where is Jesus? Do you see him? Do you see him there? Is he speaking to you? He's speaking. Can you hear him?
Yes.
And don't beat yourself up. You know, I think when we're discouraged, it's a time the enemy likes to whisper to us. And when we listen to that whisper, we miss out on what God's saying. And God sometimes just says, just be. Just be.
Yes.
I'll take care of you. Just be.
Just be.
And I think it's a message that as Christians, we want to serve God. We want to accomplish his purposes. We want to be active. We want our lives to count. And I think sometimes that counting is take a deep breath, lean into him, let him carry you, let him love on you, open your hands, open your heart, open your mind to him, and let him be who he wants to be. He doesn't love you for what you're doing, or he doesn't love you for where you're pursuing. He loves you because of who you are. So we
It's
need
not what
to
you
rest
do,
in that.
but what you are.
That's right, exactly.
Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord. Sean, just take a moment and pray for our viewers.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
Jesus, thank you for my dear brothers and sisters. God, you know each one of us. Your word says you know the number of hairs on our head. You're so intimately acquainted with us. Lord, I know that there are some that are struggling, that are some that are depressed, they're frustrated. Life hasn't gone like they wanted to. Things haven't turned out like they want them to. They don't see the future. It looks dark and bleak to them. Holy Spirit, I pray that you would come and illuminate yourself to them. Pray that you would come and love on them like you have me. And help them to just be, help them to rest. Help them to allow you just to be that warm blanket, just resting on them, warming them, comforting them, encouraging them, and breathing new life into them. I pray that through that, Lord, that you would spark the embers of their heart for you, that as they rest in you, their heart would grow warmer towards you. They would allow you to speak to them and allow you to just love on them. And through that, God, I pray that your grace becomes so real that they find satisfaction, joy, contentment, and purpose in being your son or your daughter, being your servant.
Yes, Lord.
But I know, God, you're not looking for servants. You're looking for lovers. You're looking for people who will love you, who walk with you, obey you. And you say that your burden is light, your yoke is easy. Help us, God, to understand what that means to walk with you.
Yes, Lord.
So I pray your blessings upon them. I pray your Holy Spirit would fill them, and that they would find encouragement through you and through your word. In Jesus' name.
Amen and amen and amen. We say amen to that. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you for
what a
letting me
beautiful
participate.
story, sharing your journey and just letting us know about yourself.
What a
and you are
blessing.
very welcome to Nairobi.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sean Carson. I know that you have been blessed as I have been blessed, and we do this every week just to be able to bring encouragement your way. Be blessed and stay highly favored. This is the Beacon Encourage again. If you're meeting us for the first time, please do take a moment, touch the notification button, subscribe to the channel so that our content gets to you in real time. Otherwise, as you know, you are a beacon, you shine Jesus' light, we walk by faith and not by sight. And until we see you this time next week, stay blessed. We love you. Bye-bye.